It's been a minute. Leo and the boys are off at a all-day scouting event for merit badges outdoors. Figured I'd take the opportunity and finally get a recording in. Hi everyone, my name is Shay McIntosh Ford. This is a journey, if you're here, you're following my journey of my chronic disease. It is a microscopic colitis, specifically lymphocytic colitis. I came down with this condition after my bout with COVID, and I will now be dealing with it for the rest of my life. I might go through long periods of not recording like I have this last couple of months. I will probably pop in a recording here and there. So if you're following me, welcome. I hope that my journey helps you. I hope that what I'm doing helps you find answers. If what you're doing has found answers for you, please comment below and please share with everyone else, because we're all different. We all react differently, and my journey might be a little different from yours, but this is what works for me. Or not. The first thing I'm going to go in, because I have a lot to talk about, but the first thing I'm going to go into is I am going to shamelessly beg you, please, 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 please contact your state representative about this bill. This is the Gluten in Medication Disclosure Act of 2021. This bill they've tried to put this through Congress multiple times, and it keeps getting shot down for whatever reason. You might be aware that food manufacturers are required to list those 8 major allergens on their packaging. Unfortunately, they don't have to tell you about barley or rye. They do have to tell you about wheat, but not barley or rye, which anyway, I don't eat processed food anymore. Unfortunately, drug manufacturers are exempt from this law. And so trying to find a drug that does not have gluten in it is like searching for a needle in a haystack, especially when you're needing a prescription. Here's my story and why this is so important to me. On a Thursday, I developed a UTI.
A bad one that was bleeding.
So I called my doctor on Thursday, and he called in a prescription, and I usually go with CVS because they're very good about finding me a gluten-free medication. So I called and to do a check on the medication because it was getting close to closing time, and they said, well, we had to order it. And normally when they say they have to order it, it's because they're looking for a gluten-free one for me, because they know I need it to be gluten-free. That Friday, they finally had it ready for me. It was 4 o'clock in Central Time on Friday. I went to pick it up. I decided, you know what, let me just double check. I asked the girl who's ringing me up, it's gluten-free, right? And then she just sort of like froze and looked at it, and she's like, well, we actually don't know. Well, don't ring it up because I need to make sure. But by then, it's 4 o'clock Central Time. The manufacturer is in the East Coast. It's 5 o'clock, they're already closed. I spent Saturday morning hoping they had some shortened Saturday hours. I kept calling and calling, they were not open. Monday, I called them, and sure enough, they were not gluten-free. I decided, okay, well, let me try a different pharmacy. I went to Walgreens, which I don't like going there. They're always crazy busy, never have time to help me out. But I went with them anyway and asked for their manufacturer for the particular medication I was looking for, and they gave me the manufacturer information. I called and I left a message because I couldn't talk to anybody. While I'm waiting for their call back, I'm calling several other pharmacies. None of them can verify if they're gluten-free, because the thing is that they say, well, we don't put gluten in it, but we can't guarantee that it is gluten-free. And that's because their ingredients come from multiple sources, multiple countries. It's a mess. Finally, the company that Walgreens filled, they finally called me back and said that their medication was gluten-free. So I called Walgreens and tried to get them to fill the prescription, but I needed them to call Walgreens to transfer my prescription. So I gave them the number I needed Walgreens to call CVS to transfer my prescription.
This is a mess. It's hard for me to remember the story to keep it straight.
So Walgreens was supposed to call CVS and transfer my prescription. This was like 5 o'clock or something. It was late in the afternoon. About 7 o'clock, I'm like, well, I'm still waiting for my prescription because I still have this UTI. So I called Walgreens and I was like, is my prescription ready? Do you have an estimated time? And Walgreens said that apparently someone wrote down the number wrong that I gave them for CVS because it was the wrong number. Because I know I gave them the right number. I'm absolutely certain I gave them the right number because this is important to me. So I had to wait another day. I gave them the right number, but by then CVS was already closed. I waited the next day. Walgreens finally got the prescription, filled it, but this was 6 days. From the start of my urinary tract infection to the time that I finally got an antibiotic to treat it, 6 days with an untreated urinary tract infection. And I'm thinking, okay, it's just a urinary tract infection. It's not a big deal. But people have died from an untreated urinary tract infection. It can cause me to lose a kidney. Because I couldn't find a drug that was gluten-free. It was simple, a simple thing. It wasn't that I was ignoring this thing, but this could be deadly. I have heard stories of people dying from urinary tract infections. When I was posting this in a private group on Facebook, they said, my coworker died of urinary tract infection because she did not get it treated. This is why this is important to me. And this is one of the reasons it took me so long to do a recording. Make sure, and I will link this below, to the bill, write to your state representative and ask them to support this in Congress because, fortunately nothing serious happened, but yeah, it's ridiculous. It was a simple problem. I wasn't ignoring it. I just couldn't treat it, especially for microscopic colitis, irritable bowel disease. We should be avoiding gluten. But needless to say, that whole debacle stressed me out, put me in a flare for a long time. I've never really gone into remission, so the definition of a flare for me is having to just run to the bathroom every day. For multiple times a day. I always have symptoms, so I've not gone into remission yet at all. I'm getting better, and I'm going to go into that later. That happened after this part that I'm going to tell you about. This is my solution for vacation. We went to Branson, Missouri, well before Delta started happening. So this was early in the summer. So we went there for a week. I've never been to Branson. My husband talked about it all the time. He grew up in Kansas, in Wichita. So they went to Branson when he was a kid. And it's been a while since he'd been there, but he's like, it's such a big place. It's got lots of stuff in it. And it was like Orlando, but it was like a hillbilly version of Orlando, I guess I want to say. It was fun. It was a lot of fun. They had a theme park. That was the first place we went to, was Silver Dollar City. So, I wasn't expecting, I knew it had roller coasters, but I wasn't expecting a lot. I wasn't expecting Orlando style, but and this Busch Gardens is in Tampa, But it was like Busch Gardens. You know, Busch Gardens has the Africa theme. This was like Busch Gardens with a hillbilly theme. But the thing is that early in the summer I was thinking, well, we want to go to Branson, we want to go to Silver Dollar City. If it's like Busch Gardens, I'm gonna have to have someone push me in a wheelchair. I don't think I can handle all that walking all day. Fortunately, by the time we went, my symptoms had started alleviating well enough that I managed to walk. I even went on a couple of rides. I went on 2 roller coasters. After the second one, I was done. I had a hard time standing in line. I was okay bathroom-wise that day. I wasn't having a problem. But I did have a problem with cramping, and so standing in line was difficult. We brought a backpack for all our supplies and stuff and my food to help kind of keep me calm because it was crowded, it was hot. I just needed some way to keep calm. So I brought my knitting and I stood in line with my backpack in front, and I had my knitting in the backpack, and I'm just sitting there knitting in line. It's calming to me. And I needed something calming because when I get stressed, I get a flare. So we were waiting in line for 2 hours and I was knitting. So before we left for the week, I think we stayed for 4 days, and I cooked 8 meals. And it was, I cooked pork chops and ground beef. And so this is a picture of what I did. I individually portioned them out. I weighed them so that I knew what I was eating and how much. And when I cooked the pork chops, I cut them up ahead of time before I put them in the bags, and then I put them in the cooler. And that way, you know, I had food, and that was all I ate while I was there. I would find forks different, you know, when we were at the park, I would go to one of the restaurants and they had one of those fork dispensers, and so I would get a fork, and that was how I was able to eat. Whenever we did go out to eat, I brought my knitting. So my family sat and ate, and I sat and knitted. That helps to keep me calm. So that was how I handled my vacation. If you have other vacation tips and tricks, please share below because I would love to know them. The last thing I wanted to talk about is what I've been doing just a little differently, and it's really been helping for the most part. About a month ago, I decided that I was going to, because I've been doing some research on different foods, and you know, I've been working on eating carnivore with this, which has really been helping me. But I've been doing research on the best carnivore methods, and so I've switched to what's called a lion diet. Basically, I only eat animals that have a ruminant stomach. So cows, bison, lamb. If I could find deer meat, I would eat that too, but I haven't been able to find that yet. Right now, it's beef, bison, and lamb. That's what I've been sticking with because that's what I can find. For 3 glorious days, I had a very normal bowel movement. I was so excited. I've had multiple bowel movements that were almost normal. The reason why I say that is because it was formed, it seemed normal. The only problem was I still had to wipe 5 or 6 times. But this was the first time I had a ghost wipe. I loved it. And it was so hard. I was so excited about this. I wanted to celebrate with like ice cream or something, but of course that would totally derail me. I'm sticking with what's been working, is the lion diet. So it's basically, okay, so I think I forgot to explain this. It's ruminant meats, water, and salt. And that's it. I've switched from making a bunch of lard. I would love to make my own tallow, to render my own tallow, but the ranch doesn't sell tallow. They don't sell just beef fat because cows aren't as fatty as pigs are naturally. Most people want the fat on the meat. There's just not enough for them to justify harvesting that to sell. So I have to go to Whole Foods to get my tallow and make sure that it's grass-fed, fully grass-fed tallow. And because obviously a grain-fed cow would have plenty of tallow, but that is where toxins are stored, the fat cells, and a grain-fed cow is going to have a lot of toxins. So Epic, I think, is the brand of tallow that I use, and that's been working. It's not as nice as lard. Lard is nice and soft even if it's refrigerated, it's nice and soft when you scoop it out. Tallow, you kind of, when you first open it, it's fine. You have to stir it because it separates, but then you have to refrigerate it after you open it, and then it's like rock hard, and you're digging it out of the jar. And so I kind of miss lard for that reason. It tastes fine. It works. So this Lion diet, I felt like I was in remission for 3 days. I still cramped, so it wasn't perfect. But I was like, I am on my way. And then Charlie happened. My son, my youngest son, he's autistic and has ADHD, and he takes a mild blood pressure medication to go to sleep at night because of his ADHD. Just he won't sleep, and he's been like that for a very long time. He will stay up until 1 a.m. and still will be wired. Like, if you don't give him his medication, he will not sleep. This past Thursday, he was fighting me on sleep. Since school started, we have a 9:30 bedtime, and because in the summer it was 10:30 and now it's 9:30, and I make sure that they eat. They know that if it's bedtime, they are not allowed to suddenly grab a snack before bed. If they were hungry, they should have eaten beforehand, because I let them watch movies before they go to sleep to help them wind down. Well, Charlie decided he was hungry, and he was adamant about being hungry, and I'm like, you ate 30 minutes before bedtime, and then you went back to your movie. If you were still hungry, you needed to eat. And it was this big blow-up fight. It drove me nuts, and Leo was like, well, let's just let him have some chips. And I'm like, we have to put our foot down on this, because if we don't, he's going to continue to do this, and he's not going to be rested for school. And so I was so angry and stressed out, and of course the next day I was running to the bathroom. Stress definitely does not agree with me. So I have a feeling that I am not going to be able to fully go into remission until our boys are in in-person school, because with the Delta variant, William is vaccinated. We're all vaccinated except for Charlie, because he's only 11. He won't be 12 until the end of January. And if masks were mandated in schools, then yes, they would be in school, but masks are not mandated, and the virus caused me to have this problem, and why I'm talking to you. And I do not want my children to get this virus, especially the Delta variant, because of how severe it is. And masks are the only protection he has from this virus. They're staying home again. William is staying home because even though he's vaccinated, he can get a breakthrough case and then pass it to Charlie. None of us are happy about them staying home. And now we're learning a whole new system, because our school district has offered online school, but you have to stay for the semester. We've decided to do this first semester with our school district instead of going back to Connections Academy, which is what we did last year. It's frustrating because now we have to learn a whole different way of, figuring out online school. But hopefully by next semester, there will be a vaccine for him, and we can go, and we're already registered, and I don't have to go through that rigmarole again. So I have a feeling that I'm not going to be able to attempt remission really until at least next semester, if not next year. Because stress definitely affects me. Which is why that whole last chapter of Microscopic Colitis by Wayne Persky deals with stress. So in the meantime, I am looking into yoga, maybe some meditation. So I'm actually going to be trying that after I get this, after I finish recording. I might actually edit it later and try yoga. But I'm going to do recording for my knitting show too, because I don't have anybody in the house except the dog, so I can do my recordings. That is how I am doing. I hope you guys are doing okay. I hope that you're finding answers. I hope what I'm saying is helping you get some answers. Please like and subscribe so that you can get notified the next time I'm able to do a recording. I've been watching some others, which I will link below, some other videos. I know that there have been some people who have commented on my video, my first video. I need to, and I will be responding as I upload this one. I'm sorry it took me so long to get to your comments. I was kind of avoiding social media for a while because of the stress. So, but I will be responding as this gets uploaded. So if I don't answer your comment, it's because I'm in a flare, having a bad time. So I will be eventually responding to you. I promise. I'm so sorry. Sometimes it's just difficult. So that's that. And I will be seeing you next time. Bye.